Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Ali Chiasson. Let's take you to our top story in Durham region, where a 64-year-old woman is dead and her son is in custody. This after police were initially called to the scene of a car crash in Pickering. It happened just after 5 a.m. this morning.
Officers located a crash scene on Weyburn, and a female that was in medical distress. Aid was rendered. The female was transported to a local Toronto hospital, where she was later pronounced deceased. A male that was also located on the scene was taken into custody, and this scene has become a homicide investigation at this time.
Durham police say investigators determined the woman's injuries were not from the crash, but were caused by an assault. Her son was arrested on scene and charged with second-degree murder. Police say there is no threat to public safety. They're asking for witnesses to come forward and anyone with dash cam footage to contact the homicide unit. To a bizarre story now about a man being arrested for allegedly pretending to be a cosmetic surgeon and offering risky procedures in his home. He was arrested by Toronto police after it was found he was injecting women with, quote, unknown substances. As Tyreek Reed reports, police are warning the public to beware of these types of scams.
It's not every day you visit a dog park and get approached by a surgeon promising cosmetic injections in his home. That's what happened to 4 women in Toronto. Except police say the man wasn't a cosmetic surgeon, his home wasn't a spa, but the scam was allegedly well underway.
The women did attend the residence and were provided with procedures that they believe to be Ozempic, Botox, and salmon DNA injections.
Toronto police say they've arrested 29-year-old Usak as the main suspect on Saturday. Officers say he went by the name Harvey Archibald. He's being charged with 7 counts of assault with a weapon and common nuisance. Police say a scam like this is rare.
Unfortunately, scams and frauds are a reality that we encounter every day. So as we're approaching on the holiday season and more of the public is using even like online peer-to-peer marketplaces such as, Facebook Marketplace, Kijiji, Craigslist to buy products and services. Again, do your research.
Medical estheticians like Luana Nicole agree. She says the flags for fake cosmetic surgeons are bright red.
You're looking at low cost. You're looking at a transient location. They move around a lot. They come to you, Botox parties, when people gather around 8, 9 people, we're getting a really good deal.
She says when visiting someone who isn't licensed, the risks aren't worth it.
You can have optosis, and you'll see that when someone's eye just kind of droops down and they can't really open it. Other risks that can happen is over-injecting or wrong placement. You can have your eye falling down, like I mentioned. You can have a crooked smile.
There's also the more serious health risks like infection that come with improper procedures. Police believe there may be more victims. They're asking anyone who may have come in contact with the man to come forward. Tyreek Reed, CBC News, Toronto.
Some communities are still snowed in after this weekend's blast of winter weather. Power was knocked out for thousands of people and closed a stretch of the Trans-Canada Highway. Lisa Shing has the latest.
After the deluge, the dig-out begins.
I've seen lots of snow like this, but all this all at once, whenever it does happen, it's always chaos.
That chaos, brought on by more than a meter of snow in some parts of northern and central Ontario. Tens of thousands have been without power for 2 days. Roads are jammed up, cars buried.
It was a bit of a mess. A lot of people were left on their side of the road for a long time.
140 centimeters of snow fell in Gravenhurst, now in a state of emergency, after the storm shut down a part of Ontario's second longest highway, hindering the work of emergency services. Dozens of people stranded in their vehicles were taken to local shelters. Many truckers are waiting it out in their cabs.
It's like nothing I've ever seen before. I can't express to you how important it is to get this highway open. It's our biggest hurdle.
Some Americans traveling after Thanksgiving, also victims of the lake effect snow, will be in for a treacherous trip. More than 100 centimeters fell in parts of western New York. About 2 million people in the Midwest are still under warnings.
I like it when it's not like this. I like it when I only have to shovel a couple inches at a time. That's where I like it.
People up here, when we get snow, everybody forgets how to drive, and it's fun to watch for being born and raised up here. I enjoy the snow. I love it.
These types of blizzards are more likely at this time of year, according to Environment Canada.
Especially in late November, early December, the atmosphere is ripe for this combination of warm water, lake water, and cold air.
Which means we could be in for more of this in the coming weeks as temperatures cool down. Lisa Shing, CBC News, Toronto.
Crews are continuing to restore power as quickly as they can. Customers in Bracebridge, Minden, and surrounding areas can expect to be without electricity overnight. Taking a look at our forecast now, Sophia, there could be even more snow coming their way?
Well, Ali, unfortunately, there is a very real possibility of more of these lengthy and significant, even disastrous snow squall events to take place over the next few weeks. The Great Lakes are prime real estate for the lake effect snow machine right now. The lakes are actually running a bit of a fever at the moment. They're about 3 degrees above normal. So all it takes is a little bit of a cold air mass to create that right temperature difference between the lakes and that colder air above, and the right fetch, that distance across the lake. All you need is a wind to lock in for a prolonged period of time, and you have these bands that we have seen that have dropped unreal amounts of snow, like that westerly wind direction that brought the over a meter of snowfall between Weshego to Gravenhurst up to Bracebridge. We're still watching the highway closures, of course, and the power outages that you've been mentioning. We've seen a wind shift, though, over the past few hours. The snow machine has shut off for those of you north of Orillia in Midland. Barrie, you're still in the crosshairs a little bit, but this is really a story for those of you south and east of the Huron shores now, as it will be throughout Monday and even into Tuesday, as the white knuckle drives and the whiteouts will continue north of that 401. Those of you in Goderich, London, Woodstock, Listowel, Kitchener even could see an additional 10 to 15 centimeters and even up to 40 to 50 additional centimeters directly adjacent to the Huron shores. And then to rub salt in the wounds, everybody in Ontario is getting another taste of a few centimeters of snowfall come Wednesday afternoon, including those of you in the GTA. We'll have those details in the long range.
Thanks, Sophia. Warming centers are open tonight as the temperature plunges below zero. It's expected to reach -6 overnight. 4 centers are opening across the city on Spadina Road, Elizabeth Street, Holmes Avenue, and Scarborough Golf Club Road. That's where people can come in from the cold and have a meal and a rest, of course. Warming centers open when temperatures drop to at least -5 or when Environment Canada issues a winter weather warning. To other news now. Today is World AIDS Day. And here in Toronto, people gathered to honor the lives lost to the virus. But it was also about rallying for better outcomes for those who live with it, including improving access to important medications like PrEP. JP Gallardo has that story for us.
In Toronto's Church and Wellesley neighborhood, a group of people gathered to honor and remember the lives lost to HIV and AIDS. Irene Mategi lost her sister to the virus in 2018, as her sister experienced discrimination and stigmatization in their home country of Kenya.
She suffered the disease for such a long time. She was stigmatized, hated, discriminated, and she decided to lose the fight.
World AIDS Day is also about acknowledging and improving care for those who live with the virus. In 2023, Canada saw a 35% increase in HIV and AIDS diagnoses compared to the year before, according to Statistics Canada data.
So there was a lack of access to care, a lack of testing that happened during COVID, and I think we're still seeing some of those diagnoses from that period of time.
Dr. Kevin Woodward of the HQ Community Health Center says there are many factors that could be contributing to this.
People who may be living with HIV and not know their status who are getting diagnosed in Canada, or people who have come to Canada and been recently infected here.
All the more reason, he says, to make preventative treatments like PrEP and PEP more accessible.
So we know that, over 2 million Ontarians don't have a family doctor. So being able to access someone who you can talk to about PrEP. The other barrier is cost.
In Ontario, PrEP can cost around $250 a month, and it's not covered by OHIP. The Ontario NDP party wants to change that. They tabled a motion at Queen's Park earlier this year.
My motion to ensure that this government would extend OHIP coverage for pre-exposure prophylaxis as well as post-exposure prophylaxis would actually go a long way in reducing and eliminating the transmission of HIV. It's a much more simple upfront cost today, and it will save us much more money in the long run as we move towards very expensive treatment programs.
In a statement to CBC Toronto, a spokesperson for Ontario's Minister of Health says, quote, Ontarians can access publicly funded HIV drugs for PrEP and PEP through the Ontario Drug Benefit Program. The ODB and Trillium drug plan provide nearly half of Ontario's population access to publicly funded treatment. That covers nearly half of Ontario's population, but OHIP would cover all.
I am HIV positive.
In terms of combating the stigmas surrounding the virus, Mutegi says awareness goes a long way.
Make the awareness more. Go inside, even here in Canada where we are. Go to the individual level. Talk to them. Create friendliness and closeness so that at the end of the day, people will not be afraid.
JP Galliardo, CBC News, Toronto.
Many of Ontario's smaller towns will see a hike in policing costs for the OPP, but relief could be on the way. Ontario Solicitor General is now promising over $77 million to help offset these new law enforcement bills, but some say it's still not enough.
We're faced with our own challenges trying to fund the municipal priorities that we already have, in addition to what could have been a 6% tax increase. So you can see why we're raising the alarm bells. It's just not something we can do.
Mayor Miller there says at one point OPP costs for the township of Peely were set to jump 107% next year. Towns they were worried that they would have to consider last-minute tax hikes to compensate for this. The Association of Municipalities of Ontario says they were relieved that the Solicitor General stepped in with this financial help.
For those municipalities policed by the OPP, we are extremely thankful to the government for accepting the issue, working through how to do it, and again, doing it in a timely way that on November the 29th, we know about it and we can amend what we're doing for our budgeting.
The AMO is calling for a review of municipal and provincial funding arrangements, including for policing. There is a new push happening in the Middle East for a ceasefire in the Gaza conflict. Hamas is reportedly meeting with Egyptian officials, while an Israeli security cabinet meeting was also happening. In Gaza, meanwhile, the military campaign continued. Gaza officials report 20 deaths in Israeli strikes. Also today, the UN agency in Gaza stopped aid coming into a key border point after a convoy was raided yesterday. The renewed hopes for a ceasefire comes amid Washington's announcement that they are continuing mediation with Qatar, Egypt, and Turkey. U.S. President Joe Biden has pardoned his son, Hunter, ahead of his two upcoming sentencing hearings. He had been convicted of tax evasion and of lying on a form for a gun purchase. The pardon covers both. Tonight's statement said the following, quote, Hunter was singled out only because he is my son, and that is wrong. Quote, I hope Americans will understand why a father and a president would come to this decision. As late as last month, Biden said no pardon would be issued. It has been 2 days since that Mar-a-Lago meeting between Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and President-elect Donald Trump. Since then, there has been a scramble to find out what was said since those steep tariffs were threatened. JP Tasker unpacks all of that for us.
Days after promising to impose huge tariffs that have the potential to cripple Canada's economy, President-elect Donald Trump sat down for dinner with the Prime Minister at his Florida resort. A hastily arranged visit both sides say was a success.
It was a very warm, cordial meeting, and I saw very much the mutual respect and warmth between the two leaders.
Public Safety Minister Dominic LeBlanc was part of the small Canadian delegation that dined at Mar-a-Lago, Trump's sprawling estate on Palm Beach. While Trump has called Trudeau weak, dishonest, and a far-left lunatic in the past, there was none of that sort of talk Friday night, LeBlanc says.
He walked us to the cars, to the front door of Mar-a-Lago. He said to the Prime Minister, keep in touch, call me anytime, talk soon.
Trudeau promised Trump more money for better resources at the border to stem the flow of migrants and drugs into the U.S., something that was well received by Trump, who called the meeting very productive on social media. Trudeau left Florida with a smile.
It was an excellent conversation. One of the things that is fairly unique about President Trump is how much he values personal relationships.
This former Trump official says Trudeau's visit was a diplomatic coup. It could help Canada avoid the worst of Trump's protectionist policies, he says.
And I think the willingness of Prime Minister Trudeau to fly down to Mar-a-Lago and meet with him personally is a very significant move, and one that I think was appreciated.
This is the consequence of having a weak Prime Minister who's lost control.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre disagrees and panned the visit, saying it accomplished nothing. Trump's threat of a 25% tariff on Canadian goods still stands.
Normally, when a Prime Minister goes to the United States to meet a president, they're looking to make gains. What gains did we hear from Mr. Trudeau? None. He's just trying to limit losses.
Poilievre is demanding Canada do even more to stay in Trump's good graces, like deploying provincial police to patrol the border and getting much tougher on illegal fentanyl production. That last point is key. Sources tell us Trump raised fentanyl with Trudeau at their dinner, telling him it's a top priority for his incoming administration. Trump is planning a major crackdown on the deadly drug as soon as he takes office. JP Tasker, CBC News, Ottawa.
This is going to sound like maybe a tough sell at first. Okay, beer made with wastewater. Yeah, a brewery in Singapore has launched a line of beer that helps conserve water. In one of the world's most water-starved places, the recycled sewage water beer has been deemed perfectly safe to drink and has climate activists and advocates cracking a cold one to conservation. Patrick Falk has that story.
Mitch Greboff is master brewer in charge of developing New Brew's taste profile. It's described as a modern Pilsner with a trendy twist infused with hints of tangerine and tropical fruits. The beer is brewed just like any other, only with recycled sewage water known here as New Water. The process of making it removes all impurities. Greboff assures it's perfectly safe.
New Water stands out, really. Even compared to the Singapore water. It's even softer. It's like 102% pure water.
New Brew is the product of a collaboration between Singapore's National Water Agency and local brewer Brewworks. The beverage was one of several green-themed products on display at the recently concluded COP29 climate gathering in Azerbaijan. Drinking beer made from recycled water may have felt novel for people at the talks, but it's more than just a gimmick for people here in Singapore. The city-state doesn't have any fresh natural water resources of its own and is considered one of the most water-stressed countries in the world. The collection of rainwater and water treatment are key to ensuring water security. Tan Wee Tuck is managing director of Brewworks and says people in Singapore are used to the idea of consuming treated water, but don't necessarily think much about it. That's part of what New Brew is aimed at.
The idea is to educate the public about how recycled water can be good, it's pristine, and it can be great quality for different kinds of application, including craft beer.
Tan says it can also help increase the acceptance of recycled water while promoting water conservation efforts. Patrick Falk for CBC News, Singapore.
Let's take another look at that snowy weather we've been seeing around the province. Now, this is wild. Here you can see a horse-drawn carriage stuck in the ditch. The footage was captured by the Weather Network's storm chasers near a Mennonite community. Ontario Provincial Police stepped in and they helped got to get everybody back to safety. They even said they provided hay and water to the horses that were stuck. And that takes us back to Sophia, who has been busy covering these snow squalls in Ontario. She's tracking for more tomorrow. Isn't that right, Sophia?
Ali, yeah, my eyes have been glued to this radar for days, it seems. Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening, the snow squall event began in earnest. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 3 full days these bands have been locking in. And the other thing I've been watching is the snowfall rates. Some areas are seeing snow come in at about 5 to 10 centimeters an hour. Unbelievable rates. No wonder why that major highway into the Muskokas was closed. Of course, our thoughts are with all the people out there awaiting the help from emergency services and under the power outages. We'll keep following that story for you. Unofficial totals as well around the Huron shores already of 15, even 20 to 30 centimeters of snow. Still another 20 to 30 centimeters to come for some of you, especially directly adjacent to the Huron shores. And then to rub salt in the wounds, waiting in the wings, is a clipper system midweek. This will bring the city of Toronto's first official snowfall of the season. There's been quite an early season snow deficit. The wait is over coming Wednesday after a seasonal, below seasonal day, Monday and Tuesday, right around the freezing mark for many of you. This clipper system will come barreling in. Have to mention as well, those of you in Collingwood and Barrie will get snow over the next coming days as well. It's a good early snowpack for any of the ski hills. Wednesday morning commute and Wednesday evening commute will be impacted with this midweek clipper system. It won't be a ton. Could get a little bit of enhancement with the lakes, an extra few centimeters, maybe 3 or 4 centimeters in total. So not a ton to write home to mom about. Tough to forecast that ahead of time. Second part of the story is after that clipper system, look at all the cold air that floods in. Daytime highs below the freezing mark, overnight lows in the minus double digits for many. The cold sticks around for a while. Cold and snow. Some of you are getting a ton of snow as well, like in cottage country. Pretty good time to put on the snow tires if you haven't already. Ali.
Thank you, Sophia. Well, Toronto just got a little more sparkly. The cavalcade of lights opened this weekend at Nathan Phillips Square, kicking off the winter holiday season. And for some, it was their first time in Toronto.
Never seen the snow before. Yeah, so beautiful. The ice looks amazing. Everything looks amazing. I definitely recommend everyone come over here. It's very nice. The ice rink is beautiful.
Have a look at that. Visitors can enjoy some skating, music, and take in some impressive light displays. It's festive and it is free for anyone looking for something to do between now and January 7th. That's our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. We will leave you with some more scenes of the oh so festive cavalcade of lights at Nathan Phillips Square. Have a great night, everyone.